I gotta take notes on this. Start the show notes on this one right away. I forgot. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So Baldur's Gate 3.
Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 78.
Everyone has things they're passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience.
So we've convinced each other to try different things.
And we talk about these experiences to see if we can get just one more person
to join us on our hill to die on.
I think let's hang the hat right away, Ryan.
All right, let's hang the hat.
We've been a bit busy.
Yeah, so this year has been a bit chaotic for both of our schedules with new responsibilities and new things that have happened. And because we were going places and having things to do, we really have not been as consistent with our episodes as we normally are.
Well, in the summer we decided that we would have a vacation, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
And then, you're right. The new school year just had lots of new things going on.
Mm-hmm. During the summer specifically, I was writing new curriculum and trying to get my head wrapped around a brand new class I was teaching. And it was a lot. And then the new school year started, and I felt for the first couple of months that I've been treading water with trying to make sure that I am ready and up to date with all the things that I need to teach the students. And then with you had your cross-country stuff.
Yeah, I had two interesting projects that took me a while this year in cross-country. I mean, I do try to every year do a little bit in the history. I try to go back into history and clean some things up. And that was one of my projects this year. One of my projects was because we had a student in another school who broke the course record this year, a 15-year-old course record. So I was like, okay, well then what's the top 100 times in the course? Can I do that? And I can figure it out, and the software helps most with it. But one of the interesting things about the software was that because I allow other coaches to make changes to their runners, sometimes they do the wrong thing and take a name out and put another person on the same person, on
that same record.
On that same record. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that rather than having a new person each time, it's, you have the records of 12 different runners stored on one record.
Right. Which goes just a simple example would be they took Bobby's name out and put Jenny's name on, and now Jenny's running around with all of Bobby's times in her history. And that causes problems, especially with the record printing thing, because then I was like, where's the top fastest girls? And Jenny shows up, and it's because she's got Bobby's times attached to her name. So that's a problem. So I went through and cleaned all that up, at least for the top 100 times anyway. That took a while, but it was fun work. And, now I have accurate lists that show that information, so that's nice. And the other big project was we introduced a second timing mat this year at the mile mark. And it's a nice piece of information to know how fast the runners did the first mile, especially on some flat courses, which we did a little bit this year. But even on the hilly course, it's kind of a nice thing to know. So that's nice. But what happened was the software that I use, that I wrote myself to process the times the timing system gives us, it was a very manual process, and it expected everything to run perfectly. It expected races to finish before the next race started. It expected people to wear the chips that they were assigned, as opposed to, somebody who forgot a chip and had to wear somebody else's chip for the day, or a whole team forgetting their bag of chips at the school. Like, these are mistakes that just happen. Like, forgetting your chips, we have 15 races a year. A team's going to forget their chips once during the season. It's going to happen.
Not allowed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you hope it doesn't, but it does. It does. And, we're human. And one of my runners lost her chip in the middle of the season. So she wore a chip with somebody else's name on it, right? And I probably should have just reassigned her midway through. I would have told other coaches to do that. But because I knew her and I knew what was going on, I just, made the changes every race. These things happen. Or we got slow runners who don't quite finish before the next race starts. These things happen. And they're annoying to sort out in the manual process I had before. So then I reprogrammed it to account for exactly these problems. Great, we have 2 runners who finished after the start of the next race. So great, I just tell the system, good, put them in the other race. Can't I make a button that just does that, right? This is what's going to happen, put them in the other race. Or this is not the right chip for this runner. Great, flag it, put the right chip in, move on, right? Just make it simple. So it took me a week of concentrated programming to do that, where I used up all my spare time for that. But man, it's a much nicer system now. I can process races much faster. So I am very much appreciating this new system, but it took a little while to program. And some of the other coaches kept asking me, why do I program it myself? Why don't I use the software that comes with the system? It's for this reason, is one of the reasons. And the other reason is because I want our system to register the chips to a runner for the whole season. Most races you go to, you show up, you register, you get your chips, you turn your chips in, they're used by somebody else the next race. But because we use the same chip system and the same runners every race, then great. You register once and you got that chip for the whole season. I don't have to worry about changing it. Coaches don't have to worry about changing it. They just register it once and they're done. So those are the two big reasons. I like my software much better for this exact stuff.
Well, so all this to say, we are saying this up front because we acknowledge that this year we, I think, did not quite as low as half, but definitely maybe 2/3 of what we normally release in a year.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there again.
But this past year was a slower year for our releases, and we are already thinking of ways that we can get around this happening again in the future years, and how we can potentially avoid having a slow fall season like we did this past year. So that, we can keep on doing what we like doing, releasing these and recording these and talking about things that we genuinely love to talk about. Because this is the time of the year where we normally do our year wrap up, we thought we would talk about all the things that we went through this year, talk about some of the things that we really love from this year, and just do our normal year wrap up kind of things. So because we had less episodes this year, we didn't want to do any specifically, I think, about any of the podcast episodes.
Yes, so we won't do the podcast introspective topics. We won't do the favorites of the podcast. We'll delay those till next year.
Yeah. So we'll have 2 years of talking about, in the past 2 years, what was your favorite Kit Kat?
Right. So you really got to remember that CC Lemon Melon Mix for next year.
No one's going to pick that melon mix.
Nope, no one's going to pick that one. But still,
no one's going to pick that melon mix. So this year, we only have 7 topics that we're going to really be focusing on. Games, movies, TV shows, books, events, music, and new things. I will probably warn you off the bat, there are a couple of things that I don't think that I'm really going to have a whole lot to say on.
Okay.
But that is largely because outside of a few things here and there, I'm not subscribed to any of the streaming services anymore. So, I don't have as many TV shows to pick from. I have a few, but not as many.
I think there's at least one in there. Anyway, I'll say what I think.
Oh, okay.
Let's start with games played.
All right, games played. So why don't you go first? Because you did tell me that you played a game this year.
I did. We've already talked about it a little bit because I brought it up already, but I have played Animal Crossing a bit this year. Besides my playthrough of Disco Zoo. I have now gone into the 3rd playthrough of Disco Zoo. But no, I played Animal Crossing a bit. In fact, my daughter was telling me she has now paid off the loan of her house again, and now she's 3 rooms in her house. I don't know, I forget exactly. But anyway, she keeps upgrading our island for us, so she's getting all the new stuff. But I think I've only got a house. Have I done the first upgrade? I'm not even sure I've done the first upgrade. I think I've only got a house. I've only got 1 room in the small room.
Yeah, because you got the tent, and then you can upgrade that to a house.
Right.
And then you get additional rooms.
Yeah, the first upgrade is a bigger room, and then the 2nd and 3rd upgrades are more rooms.
Mm-hmm. And then eventually you can get a 2nd floor and a basement.
Yes, because she's been watching things on YouTube. She's excited about the 2nd floor because that's what she realizes her next level is. So she's working toward that. But yep, I've played Animal Crossing, but not as much as my children have. But it's been a pretty fun game. I am definitely missing out on animals because I don't play it often enough. But oh well, I'm missing out on stuff.
I mean, you can catch all the tarantulas.
Yeah, I'm not as good at catching the bugs, that's for sure. The fish aren't bad. I don't mind fishing.
Fishing is fun.
The bugs are harder to catch. I'm not as good at sneaking around. I keep running by mistake and scaring them away.
Yeah.
But yeah, Animal Crossing. It's a fun game. I've been enjoying it. It's been around forever. I'm late to the party. It's okay.
Hey, you can always be late to a party. It's fine. I think it's good to get around to playing these things eventually.
We did have fun on the Matsuri days here. I don't know if they're everywhere in the world, but after 8 p.m. or something like that, there's fireworks. So we had fun doing that.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're pretty much globally, like there are events like Christmas and kind of summer festival kind of things. And yeah.
All right. So what did you play, Ryan?
I've played so much.
You played a few games, huh? Have you? Have you played a few games, Ryan?
I have played a few games. I've played a few games. I will say that the one that is probably going to end up being like my game of the year kind of thing, I think it's got to be Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
The best way to describe it is D&D the video game.
Oh, right. Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
So do you like D&D? Yeah. You like D&D? Okay.
I've played it once.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry, you're talking to the mystery person. Okay.
I'm talking to a mystery person because I know how you feel about D&D. You appreciate it
exactly
on a intellectual level, but I think the big thing for you was the fact that improving, the coming up with what you're going to do, felt like you hadn't quite figured out how to do that for yourself.
Yes.
And again, we were rushing through a one shot. Again, I do think you had fun, but I don't think it's something that you're like, I want to actively keep doing.
No, it's not my favorite thing, but that's fine.
Well, that's because you didn't get to experience the epic multi-year long stories that are built into a campaign that's not in a one shot.
That's true. It's true. Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, I'm now DMing every Friday, so if you want to...
No.
Are you sure? Are you sure you don't have tons of free time every Friday evening?
Right. I'm sure I don't have tons of free time. Mm-hmm. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Baldur's Gate, it's basically, in my opinion, D&D the video game. Now, I will say, first and foremost, I have not finished the game. First of all, I received my copy late. So I had to wait about a month before I had enough money saved up that I was willing to buy it, because I did not have a whole lot of money at a certain point. And then, on top of that, this semester, as I mentioned earlier, has been a little stressful, having a lot of things to do. So I didn't quite have a whole ton of mental wherewithal for doing deep games. And for me, one of the things I love about this game is the fact that you get to choose everything. There are tons of choices you get to make, that you get to interact with all these different characters in a variety of different ways. I mean, there are conversations where you can just be like halfway through the conversation and going, no, I'm done with this conversation. I'm going to attack you.
Wait, do you get to choose everything or do you have to roll for everything?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose everything, but then you roll on whether or not you succeed. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I can say, hey, I think that I want to convince all these people that I'm totally a safe person and you don't have to worry about me. And, you know, I'm on your side, and I can just roll that in a completely unconvincing way to the point where people are like, no, I don't trust you. Mm-hmm. That kind of idea. The same way where, for example, when we played way back when, being able to have like a perception check or an insight check or a persuasion check helped you either convince people that you were like a decent person or on their side or those sort of things, where if you roll badly, they're not going to believe you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But the reason why I was having a problem was because there were just so many choices, and I would start a game trying to make all the choices I wanted to, and then get about partway through the game and be like, you know what? I actually think I want my character to be this kind of character and not that kind of character. And so I would start over. And I did that about 4 or 5 times. I think it was only 4 or 5. It might have been more.
And it's not that you just couldn't decide on your race. You couldn't decide what job? Like, what was it that you were changing?
Some of it was I couldn't decide on the class that I wanted to play. Some of it was I couldn't decide on the race. Some of it was I couldn't decide on how I wanted to approach certain situations. Those ones I could just reload like an hour ago. But like, for example, I started the game playing as a bard, and it was great. And they have lots of really cool dialogue choices. But the problem was, every time I got into a battle, the way that I had built my bard was very much a support character. And I was bored by that. And I was like, no, I want my character to be a little bit more powerful. So I need something else. So I was like, okay, maybe I could tweak my bard to make them a little bit more powerful. But the problem was, based on a whole bunch of things, I was just like, the only way I can do that is if I get past a certain level, or if I do a bunch of multi-classing things. And I was just like, that's more effort than I want. I'm going to go simple. I'm going to go wizard because I tend to like playing wizards and things like that. And so I started playing a wizard, and then I played through that, and I was like, but I don't want this wizard to be dragonborn. This time I want my wizard to be half elf or human or whatever I picked. I don't remember. I think I ended up being a half elf at the end, but I kept rotating through different ones because I kept trying different things. And then there was a couple of scenes where I was like, this is how I want to treat this character. And then about an hour later, I'd be like, no, I actually want to go a different direction with the story. And so I would reload for an hour ago. And this happened a lot. And so I got so bogged down with making so many decisions that after a certain point, I was like, I'm going to take a break and play some games where I basically can turn off my brain. And then when I have recovered the decision-making part of my brain, I'm going back to it. And so I've slowly been doing that. And so I've been moving slowly through the storyline. But based on how much I have just enjoyed the time that I've spent playing this game, this is definitely the game that I think is the best that I've played all year. I am loving it. It is that fact that I am also like where I am at mentally in my life. I do need to take breaks from it so I don't get like inundated with decision making because I got to do that all day long anyway.
And this is Baldur's Gate 3, right?
Baldur's Gate 3, the newest one, not the PC games from like 15 years ago.
Yes.
All right. So Nate, see any good movies this year?
I did. Okay, here's an interesting one. I did see Dead Reckoning, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Another Tom Cruise wonderful movie. Nah, I mean, it was okay. It was a lot of fighting scenes. I wish it wasn't a 2-part movie. That's a little silly, but still.
Yeah.
And yes, he jumped his motorcycle off the cliff, which you can see everywhere, everywhere and everything showing that scene, which is kind of fun. So, yeah, it was a fun movie. But I think I'm limiting this to theatrical movies because I just didn't, really though, I didn't really see any good movies on Netflix or Disney Plus that much at all. We already did talk about my experience watching Little Mermaid, which was fun too. That was not a bad movie, but not my pick. I think my pick is Elemental. Have you seen it yet?
No, I never did.
I do like it. It is definitely the story of immigrants coming to a new land. I mean, it's mimicking kind of like New York City kind of thing, but it's quite fun. I thought it was a great movie. So yeah, people should watch it. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It was showing on the plane on our cross-country trip. I didn't watch it because I was needing to rest anyway, but I put it up on the screen because I'd already seen it and just watching through it again. It was quite fun. So I liked it. Elemental, you should take a look.
All right.
As somebody who's living in the country that's not their own, it's a fun movie.
Sounds like a plan.
Although we're not really immigrating, but still.
Are we not?
Well, you still have an American passport, and so do I. But
yeah.
So apparently we're not immigrating.
True.
So what movie have you seen, Ryan?
Well, I'm going to go with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that came out this year. Now, here's the thing, because I had to look up what movies came out in 2023. And the top grossing movies of this year are Barbie, Super Mario Bros.
Which I haven't seen yet. I want to see that. Anyway, go ahead.
That's the other thing, because by the time I got to thinking about going to the theater, that one was out of the theater.
Yeah.
Especially because I didn't want to watch it in Japanese. I wanted to watch it with the English voices.
Yeah.
And it was so hard to find a theater that did that because they normally do that if it's a live action movie where they'll show the English voices with Japanese subtitles. But because it was animated, they dubbed it all. And so it was really hard to find a subtitled version. And so I just never got around to it. But now it's out of the theater, so I should probably just watch it. And the other one that I meant to do that for, same deal, was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
Because that also came out this year. So the top 5 grossing were Barbie, Super Mario Bros., Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Oppenheimer. And of those, I saw 3 of them. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 I thought was great. One of my favorite things about that, though, was of the characters in the Guardians, one of my favorites is always Rocket.
Yes.
Rocket Raccoon. And The thing is, this is a very Rocket-centric storyline in this movie. And so this was a movie made for me because it basically was like, all right, well, let's go into Rocket's backstory and have him deal with the trauma of his existence and how he was created and how he was treated as a child, I guess, is the best way to, yeah. Mm-hmm. And just going through all of that and then coming to grips with like where he is and how he fits in with this found family that he's created with the Guardians. And then all the Guardians figuring out where they're going from here kind of mentality. Because where are they going from here is a good question. So, but yeah, I thought it was a great movie because, like I said, following along with Rocket's storyline is one of those things that I really love.
But you didn't mention the best cameo actor yet.
Which one?
Nathan Fillion.
Was he in that?
Oh, yeah, he's the guard.
Oh, yes.
With the ridiculous suits.
Oh, my gosh. I completely forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Very important part of the movie.
Very, very important part. Completely forgot about Nathan Fillion being in there.
He was great.
Yes. Nathan Fillion as Master Karja.
Yep. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I don't think I have as much nostalgia for Guardians as you do, so but that's fine. It was a good movie and I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite TV series?
TV series. Okay.
Are we both picking the same one, Ryan?
What one?
Picard season 3.
Oof. Yeah, probably.
You have to think about this? Wait a minute. There's no thinking about this, Ryan. How much thinking about this do you have to do?
Well, it was the fact that I basically marathoned all of Picard. And so I was just remembering what was in Picard season 3 because I was trying to remember what was in season 3 and what was in season 2. But yeah, I would say yes, I would agree with that. Picard season 3, probably the best thing I saw all year.
That's good stuff. It's the one that basically starts with the cast. But even in this season, I think that the supporting cast, the cast that isn't the original Enterprise D cast, did a great job. That captain who starts out being annoying, but who is right in everything he says, even when he's annoying. He's like, every time you guys come on, we just go into problems. Like, yeah, that's true, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, like, oh, and you guys just like to break rules. Yeah, that's true too. I mean, he's saying it annoyingly, but he's correct every time.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to save the day in the end. He's going to be great. It was great. He did a wonderful job. I mean, Seven and Rafi did well, especially Rafi with Worf. That was very good. And then seeing Geordi with his daughters and Geordi and Data working together again. It's great stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, it felt like a return to all the things that made Star Trek great.
Yep.
So, like I said, I marathoned all 3 of them in a row.
Oh, that's true. Right. Mm-hmm.
Because I had already seen season 1. I had seen like 1 or 2 episodes of season 2 and then none of season 3. And so I just started from episode 1, season 1, and then just marathoned all 3 of them. So I was trying to remember what was in season 1, what was season 2. And I just remember how I did not care as much for season 2.
No, season 2 is a little bit more of a slog. I mean, not terrible, but not as good as 1 and 3.
Season 2 wasn't as good. And then just reminding myself, oh no, season 3 was the one where basically he's dealing with the Borg again, but
yeah, exactly. He's dealing with the Borg. I think in some ways it's unfortunate that season 2 wasn't as good because Q was great too, right? Q's a good character. It's too bad that just didn't work out.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was the jump to the past. I think that was the hardest thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can do historical ones in other ways, but I think the jump to the past just didn't flow with the rest of the story as well, especially because I think for season 1 and season 3, they felt very much of we're moving along with this story of these characters. And season 2 felt like a lot of, we're going to dip in and out of a bunch of different smaller storylines. And it felt like a cacophony of stories rather than one cohesive story. I think that's my biggest problem.
Yes. Yeah, they're detracting. Like, I mean, what's his name? The Hispanic captain. He's great. But his storyline, even though it was interesting, basically pulled away from, I mean, I guess that was the point, though. I guess that's why he left. But it was too separate from everything else. It was pulling away from the rest of it. His storyline was interesting. Although I would say that Alice's storyline, is that her name? I forget her name.
Yeah. So it's Rios and Alice.
Yeah, and Alice's storyline too with the Borg Queen. They were interesting, but the storylines never gelled cohesively. They didn't come together at the end.
And that was my problem. I could kind of give it some ground if all these stories really converged well at the end, but they didn't.
Right.
It felt like a bunch of loose threads that we have in the same time block.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think making Q a more central part of the story would have solved a lot of that.
Yeah. Too bad.
Anyway.
Season 3 was great, though. I mean, I didn't think they would see the Enterprise D bridge again. You know, with seeing Voyager in the museum, I thought that's where they were going. But then when they went all the way back to seeing the bridge of the Enterprise, that was great. It would have been nice to have yet another set, but again, that probably means they would have had to build another set, like the Ready Room or engineering or something would have been nice, but oh well. It was very nice to see the bridge again.
And Wheaton was there too.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. That was, you know, I almost thought they would bring him in, right? Because he could just appear as a traveler and say, oh, you guys are all together again.
Oh, wait, no, that was season 2.
Will Wheaton was in season 2?
Yeah, at the very end.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Because he invites Kore, the girl who looks like Soji.
Okay.
The one whose father is working on Project Khan. It's one of the Sungs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, that's right. That's right, because there's yet another thread of data in season 2 that was not as interesting. Yeah. There was another thread that was not as good. Yep. Okay.
Again, all these loose threads that just did not combine well.
No. Yeah, but it would have been good to have Will Wheaton in season 3 because it was Beverly's other son, right? Like to have both of Beverly's sons together.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that have been nice to have Will on the bridge with the team trying to rescue his brother? I was thinking, man, that would have been nice. But yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is being a traveler, it kind of could be a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could have been. But let me rag on this though. Let me complain about this. I would really have liked to have seen Star Trek. What's the new one called?
Lower Decks?
No, that too. I would have liked to have seen Lower Decks the next season, whatever it is, season 4, I think maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen Strange New Worlds here in Japan.
Uh-huh.
I would have liked to have seen Discovery season 4 here in Japan. Is it season 4? Season 5? Season 4, I think.
I think it's season 4. I think they announced season 5 is going to happen, but I don't know if it's happened yet.
Yep, would have liked to have seen season 4. Would have liked to have seen Star Trek Lower Decks. I mean, come on. What's the problem here? What's the big deal?
Paramount.
You're not going to announce a Paramount Plus in Japan, so can you just sell it to Netflix or Amazon Prime? Come on. Like you did the other shows? You're not going to have a Paramount Plus in Japan. You're going to have Paramount Plus in English-speaking countries, so just let us who don't speak English get these seasons. Anyway, really frustrating that I haven't seen these new shows yet. I hear you snuck them in while you were in America.
Yes, I did.
But I did not sneak them in while I was in America. So yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's frustrating and annoying.
Well, you know, all you have to do is go on a flight to like America or Guam and then power through the entire series. And
I guess I could have done while I was in Guam, but I don't own Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
I'm not subscribed. But anyway, okay, we can move on. TV shows. That was supposed to be a quick one, huh, Ryan?
Uh-huh. That was definitely going to be quick.
It is another one where we were both agreeing. Last year, we both agreed on Severance, and this year, we're both agreeing on Picard Season 3. Maybe Severance Season 2 will come out next year, and then Picard Season 4 after that. Anyway, one can hope.
Uh-huh.
Picard Season 4 is not coming out, but anyway. Severance Season 2 would be good.
Yeah, well, we'll see. All
right, favorite book. We're not going to have anything to say about this.
Well, I mean, that's the question is, what book are you picking?
I have a long list of honorable mentions. I read a lot of books this year. The year's not even over, and I'm already at my 48. I have read 49 out of 48 books. I'm doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But I started the year reading a bunch of good books that I am going to bring up on the show. So I'm not going to pick those. I've got Calculating Stars series, very good. The Endling series, that's very good. We're going to bring that up at some point. Mickey 7 series, we're going to bring that up at some point. Very excited about that. The Goblin Emperor, which I think you're bringing to the table at some point. It's one of your books, actually.
Yep.
But it's okay. We'll read that through. And then I have a few other honorable mentions. Terrence recommended that we read Red Shirts.
Yeah.
Very much enjoyed that book. The mixing of fiction and fiction of reality. Very good. Enjoyed that a lot. Have you read it yet?
Red Shirts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Very good. And then I also, speaking of another sci-fi thing, I read Born with Teeth, the Catherine Janeway biography. I'm sorry. No, the biography of Kate Mulgrew, not Catherine Janeway. Excuse me. Catherine Janeway is what she plays on TV. The biography of Kate Mulgrew. Very, very interesting story. A very tough life. I mean, it makes sense. Captain Janeway is very tough in life, and it's just like Kate Mulgrew, very tough in life. So yeah, very fun book. One more honorable mention was All Souls Lost by Dan Morin. I haven't quite finished it yet, so I'm not sure I can quite pick it. I'm not sure I would pick it anyway because the genre of ghost stories is not my genre. It's a Dan Morin book, and all of Dan Morin's wonderfulness comes right through, and that's just great. All of his stuff. I mean, Dan Morin's writing is what brought me to read that book, right? If it was anybody else, I would not have read it. But Dan Morin's writing was just hilarious. So just going through and reading that, great stuff. So I haven't quite finished it yet, but that is a very fun book. You should read that, Ryan.
Eventually I will. I am trying to get through a few more books before the end of the year. I am not quite at my year goal.
But I'm going to pick as my book of the year. I read the whole Spy School series.
Really? You're going to pick Spy School?
I'm going to pick a Spy School book, Ryan.
Okay.
I read all 11 Spy School books this summer, and I read all 3 Moonbase Alpha books, and they were fun too. And it's just a very fun series. Should you read it, Ryan? I don't know. I think you will enjoy it. But my daughter's been reading a lot of Stuart Gibbs books, and they don't have the Fun Jungle books in audio form, which is, well, at least in my libraries anyway, which is too bad because I would like to read those. But all of the Spy School books and all the Moonbase Alpha books were in my libraries. So I worked my way through those, and they were very fun. I think it's fun because as teenagers who are given a problem, a problem kind of like Ender's Game, it's like, oh, these teenagers are given a problem and they have to solve it. And these are the best of the best teenagers and they can do it. I think this series, at least, did a better job of focusing on the students, not downplaying their flaws. I feel like Ender's Game, like, these are the best and they can do everything kind of thing. Whereas the Spy School books, these kids have flaws and they have to get over them, and they're teenagers and, they make teenager mistakes. Even the one girl who's very good at spying still makes mistakes, and she still has to recover for them, and she's still learning, and she's still got an arc. So anyway, I like them. They're teenager books, but they're very fun. And I think I liked Spy Ski School the best, which was number 4, although some of the other ones are pretty close seconds. And one of the reasons is the girl who's really good at everything, she completely fails in this book. And the lead character who's given a task that he can't do because he's just not as good at it. So again, it was focused on, these kids are good at things, but they're not good at the things we're reading about in this book, in the situation they're thrown into. So the girl who's really good at spying can't ski. So she's spending most of the book learning how to ski the whole time. Hilarious results ensue from that. And then the lead boy, who's a nerd, so he's not great at relationships, is forced into a relationship and has to do well in that situation. And he's like, I don't know what to do. So it's great. I like them. Spy Ski School is one of the better ones, but yeah, they're all pretty fun. So yeah, I am picking a Spy School book, Ryan. Is it better than Born with Teeth? I don't know, but it was pretty good. Or better than Red Shirts? Again, I'm not picking some of the other good ones. Probably one of the Calculating Stars series is probably one of my favorite books, but we're going to talk about that coming up anyway. And Mickey 7, yeah, one of the Mickey's, I'm not sure Mickey 7 would have beat out a Spy School book, but one of the Calculating Stars book would have beat a Spy School book.
So the problem I'm having is I'm looking through the books that I read this year. I read a lot of really good books this year, but the problem is some of them, I've read before.
The Goblin Emperor is the book you picked last year, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, The Goblin Emperor I picked last year. And the problem is, let's see, Wizard of Earthsea, read that one before. The Book of Three, read that one before. The Color of Magic, read that one before. Light Fantastic, read that one before. Out of the Silent Planet, read that one before. I did a lot of rereading this year, basically going back to either things that I loved when I was younger or classics that I was like, I remember reading this when I was really young, but I don't remember reading it recently, so I wanted to reread it. So if I'm cutting out all the ones that I've already read in the past, that doesn't leave me with a whole lot.
Slim pickings.
Well, it's more along the lines of it leaves me with a decent amount, but it doesn't leave me with a whole lot of what I would consider like stellar books. And part of the reason why I kept going back to those classics and kept going back to the ones I loved in the past were because every time I read a book that was new or like in some way like in this category of, oh yes, this is a brand new book that's highly recommended, I'm just like, it was an eh. It was a 4-star, not a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the way for a lot of the books I read. That's not saying the ones that I'm going to list now are pretty much the ones that I would say are those like higher quality, the 5 stars, or even a higher 4 stars. So things that I think of, The Starless Sea, I thought was really great, but it is basically a story for those who love stories. It is definitely like very self-indulgent for people who love like narratives and stories, because basically the magic of the world was baked around the magic of storytelling. And so it felt very much like that kind of thing. Legends and Lattes, which was mentioned
Incomparable.
on the Incomparable, I thought was one of those lovely cozy reads, but it didn't quite grab me as much as the other cozy reads. It didn't go into like it had some good characters, but didn't go into like the depth of philosophical thought. It had more to do with like relationships. And I thought that was nice and in a D&D world was interesting, but my biggest problem with it was I was getting all of the Becky Chambers vibes, but it didn't quite go to the heights that Becky Chambers did. And so it was like you are losing by sheer comparison to Becky Chambers. I'm sorry. And, that is a rough comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But probably the one that I liked the most or thought was the most interesting of all of the new books is the T. Kingfisher, Nettle and Bone.
Okay.
I liked it because it took a lot of your normal fairy tale stuff and definitely twisted it in a way that was really cool. I will say that I really liked the world and I liked the way that she wrote this story. There was a couple of things like it didn't feel quite as good as it could have been in certain aspects, but I really liked that story. It's a fun read. It balances on a knife's edge in certain areas of like being too depressing and also being hopeful right at the beginning mostly. And then it leans more into that hope of like, we're going to accomplish this kind of thing. But of the books that I read this year that aren't like classics or books that I've read in the past, things that I've loved before, my favorite one that I read was Nettle and Bone.
Are you bringing this to the table some point?
I don't know because I don't think that you would love it.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm more likely to bring this to the table than I am to bring Starless Sea.
Oh, okay.
Because Starless Sea is definitely, all right, I'm just going to say it right now. You remember all the complaints that you had about This Is How You Lose the Time War?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dial that up to 12.
Oh.
So take all your complaints about This Is How You Lose the Time War and make it more.
Okay.
Like I said, it is a story for those who love stories and a little self-indulgent into that kind of love of storytelling.
Okay.
So, yeah, good, but definitely not for you. Nettle and Bone I am more likely to bring to you. I haven't quite decided if that's one that I would bring to you yet. It depends on whether this is a one-off story or if she continues in this world at all.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, good thinking. Mm-hmm.
Because in the past, she's done other stories that have kind of had that same vein and has written more expansive stories in a reoccurring storyline in those worlds too. So I'm wondering if she's going to continue in this world or if she's just going to leave off here. But I thought it was well done. I liked it. All right. Where were we? We just finished.
We're on to new event or trip.
Event or trip. All right. I'm just going to say it. My main trip this year was going back and visiting my family.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I didn't go anywhere else. The past couple of years, I have been trying desperately to save my money and accrue a little bit of a foundation so that if anything happened, I would have a backup of money that I could fall back on. And also, I was doing this so that I could finish paying off my student debt, which I have accomplished and have done this year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I am finally fully free from my student debt, only, like 18 years after I started accruing it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Details, right? Because of that, the only main trip that I did this year was I went back to visit my family, which was good, and I'm very grateful for it. I definitely needed it, but that was my one trip of the year. I didn't go and visit any large parts of Japan this year. I didn't go on many long trips. I just went and visited my parents, and that was good. That was what I needed. It's always great to see the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do it again pretty soon here because that's what I do every Christmas.
Yep, good.
You?
We had some fun trips. Definitely there was a trip where I broke my thumb skiing. I had fun skiing this year. One time breaking my thumb and the other time actually skiing after my thumb had healed. So that was fun. We had a good trip in Okinawa this summer that actually turned out better than I expected. As the person who planned it, I was like, I'm not sure this hotel is going to be great, and I'm not sure it's going to have great swimming, but nope, the hotel was fine. Wasn't amazing, but it was fine. And yes, it had great swimming, so I was very pleased about that. But I think I'm going to pick this one. We went to the Lataiarai Resort, and we did a high ropes course there. And that was a lot of fun. We had actually reserved it pretty early on in July, and they called up and said, oh my goodness, you can't come when you've reserved it because the high ropes course is being worked on and it's closed. And we're like, oh, okay. It was within the window of time where cancellation would be expensive. So I was like, what can we do? What would you be able to do for us? And they said, well, we'll move you. You can move to this day, this day, this day, or this day. And we're like, oh, okay. And one of the things I had done too was when I had booked it, I had picked the plan that gets me a free pass at the high ropes course, but I hadn't chosen which day. Like I had booked like Tuesday night to stay at the hotel, but we could have gone to the high ropes course on Tuesday or Wednesday. And because it's an outdoor thing and you don't get to control the weather, I was like, we can then, choose whatever day is most sunny and go on the most sunny day. In the choices they had given us on the reschedule, most of them didn't provide that flexibility. But at the same time, we were also close enough to see some of the weather ahead of time. So we chose a day where we'd go do the high ropes course, stay overnight at the hotel, and then go to our next vacation right away. So we just basically tacking it onto our vacation there at the beginning of it. But we would lose the flexibility then. We would only be able to do the high ropes course, stay overnight, and then go to the next vacation. We wouldn't have any flexibility. And as it got closer, there was some rain on that day, but it just drizzled and passed over and wasn't too bad. And we had a great time climbing through the high ropes course. And I was a little bit worried because they had said, oh, you can't bring a camera up with you. But what they expected was that I was going to hang the camera on my neck. But because I had my wrist strap camera, they said that was fine. So I was like, oh, very good. So I actually got some great pictures of my daughters in the high ropes course while we were going through together. And then even when they did it a second time, because there was nobody there. I love doing Japanese vacations in early July when none of the Japanese students are out because they're still all in school. Because nobody was there, we did all the things once, and then we came back and did the high ropes course again because they had some other little things. You had like a slide and another that had some zip lines and things like that. So we did all of that once and then came back and did the high ropes course again. And so I got some good pictures of the girls doing it a second time. So yeah, very fun. Very much enjoyed that. So yeah, that was a good vacation.
Yeah.
All right. You got favorite music, Ryan?
Favorite music. A lot of the music that I listened to this year is similar to what I've listened to in the past.
Vaxis 2, The Window of the Waking Mind.
That was what I listened to a lot last year, right?
Yeah. Yep, fun stuff.
That was what I listened to a lot last year. No, this year I listened to a lot of soundtracks and a lot of different random things. I listened to a lot of the normal eclectic mix of random, but perhaps the weirdest or most random thing that got added that wasn't part of my old rotation was an album that I added that is a couple of guys who do just really random songs. They got together and decided that they were going to do a single of some of the songs from The Hobbit and sing them. But what's nice is they have these very low, rumbly voices. So it definitely felt like kind of almost one of those dwarven ballads that they would sing. I See Fire and Misty Mountains are both songs from basically The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. Probably Misty Mountains is the better of the two, in my opinion. It's just them kind of rumbling those songs. Aside from that, pretty much your normal stuff, you know.
It's like rock, huh?
It's kind of like a rock rendition of it, which is a rock rendition of a song from The Hobbit.
The Hobbit movie.
But with these low, rumbly voices. So yeah, that kind of music is fun. Other than that, I've been just listening to a lot of soundtracks. Oh, and another random one, I think I might have mentioned this one in the past, but there's another artist called Hildegard von Blingen. Mm-hmm. What she does is she takes modern songs and then sets them into like almost a medieval style.
Okay.
Which just sounds ridiculous and is kind of great all at the same time. I have really eclectic taste where I'm just like, okay, this sounds interesting. And this is Paint It Black.
Oh, okay.
Set to basically old-timey style.
With flowers and my love both never to come back. The townsfolk cross themselves and swiftly log away.
Those were some of the random things that got added this year. Other than that, it's been the normal kind of genres that I've been in the past. So nothing terribly new, no large new albums that have gotten added into the cycle. Besides, like, you know, just things that have kind of bubbled up and been like, okay, that's interesting. That's fun.
I had some good albums I listened to a bunch this year. I liked the Life After Death album by Toby Mac. A bunch of good songs on that album. That one did come out last year, but I think I listened to it mostly this calendar year. Ginny Owens released a new album, Be Still and Know. It's a good album. And then when I started listening to that again, I was like, oh, let me catch up on all of her music. And I realized that there was an album that I had missed in 2016, Love Be the Loudest. And I listened to that album a bunch this year. But I think my favorite album is Beautifully Broken by Plum. It's a fun album because it includes, like, they must have used, like, pipes.
When we disagree and it gets real messy, trust me. Oh, I'm gonna fight for you, even if I have to fight with you. That's what you gotta do when you love someone.
But yeah, I like that song a lot. It's just because it's fun and it's a neat song too. It's got a good meaning. I like the song before that called Human as well. It's a fun song. We're all human, basically. Kind of a nice song for the times. But I mean, weirdly, this album came out in 2018. But as I was looking back on some of my favorite artists to see if there was stuff I had missed when I was looking through Ginny Owens stuff, I was like, oh, let me look through Plum stuff. Yep, and this album came out in 2018. No, this is a really good album. I don't know why I missed it in 2018 because I really like this album. Yep, Plum's Beautifully Broken album is a very good album. Definitely had a lot of plays this year, this album. New thing, Ryan. What do you got for new thing?
I got nothing.
You got nothing for new thing? Okay, I've got a few things.
I don't buy things.
You don't buy things?
I don't buy things. Although next year I'm going to have a whole bunch of things because I'm pretty sure next year is the year where I'm going to need a new computer and a new phone and it's going to be a lot of stuff that I need to get because my phone is now approaching, I want to say it's approaching 5 years.
Yes.
I have been pushing it off.
Yeah, September it'll be 5 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be the year that I got to replace it. But yeah, it is what it is.
All right, I'm going to pick a few things. These aren't mine, which is why they're not going to be my official picks. But this year I have gotten to play with the school's nice cameras a lot. Ryan knows. I have had a lot of fun playing with the school's nice cameras.
Well, one of these days, I just wait for you to, do your job rather than just play with cameras.
Well, part of my job, one of the reasons is part of my job this year is doing stuff with the cameras.
I know, I'm just teasing you.
I'm now the photographer of the school. So I've been playing with the school's nice cameras. I took them on my trips. So, speaking of the high ropes course, I took the nice Olympus OM1 the school has and took some nice pictures up on the ropes course with that. That was great. I've been playing with the school's Sony A7 IV, which is a very nice camera. Very expensive, but very nice camera. My daughter was taking pictures with it today, and she goes, I think the camera's making mistakes. And I said, nope, this camera does not make mistakes. If anything's wrong with the picture, it's the operator's fault, pretty much. Pretty much you are operating it wrong, which is what I get when I operate it wrong. But I'm getting better at operating it correctly, at least. But yeah, no, it's a very nice camera. The focus is always super sharp. And I have owned a few cameras in my life. And I think the Sony A7 IV has now won me over to purchasing a Sony at some point in the future. It's not going to happen right away. I did sell my Blackmagic camera to earn some money from that. But I did buy a Sony lens. So I have a lens that I can use with the school's cameras. But I don't own my own camera yet. But I will probably at some point buy a camera. So maybe that'll be my pick next year. Although probably not, because I'm going to wait for the prices to come down a bit more. Because they are expensive cameras.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the dream that the prices will come down.
Well, I look at the old, there are a few Sonys that are older. And they're all, they're about 3 years old. So I might have to wait 3 years, which is fine. But the 3-year-old cameras are about 15 mon right now. And that's not too bad. And those cameras are at the minimum. Like I could buy one of those cameras now, but I feel why buy that camera now when in 3 years I could just get this camera. So I think I'm just going to wait. Because I have cameras I can borrow from the school, right? I'm not needing a camera. I actually don't need a camera. The school has them. And since it's my job to have the school cameras, I can have them. So no, it's not too big of a deal. So I can wait.
So when's the school hiring you as just the photographer?
Yeah, never. And actually, that might be the problem, right? Because next year the school might hire a photographer, and then I'm not going to have these cameras at my beck and call. So, yeah, I might need to buy one next year, right? I think that's how it works. We'll see. But anyway, I think I'm going to pick my new Synology. I think I explained it last time, but I did purchase my DS923 Plus, and every time I've been using it to organize photos or put stuff up, it's been so fast. I did not expect the difference between my DS1815 Plus and this Synology 923 Plus to be so significant. But the speeds are so much faster. And it's just the unit that's changed. I haven't changed my internet connection at home or anything. The speeds of the Synology are so much faster. Even the speeds of the spinning disks are faster. Now, that could be because I do have new 12 terabyte spinning disks, and that there's fewer disks, so maybe it's looking for data across fewer disks. But the speeds of the SSDs as my photo library, that is amazing. I am so glad I made that choice to put my photo library on the SSDs because they are so fast. I was worried years ago when I made the choice that I was going to host my own photo library instead of sticking it up on Apple or instead of sticking it up in Google's photo stuff or Amazon or whatever service. I was going to make my own photo library and I was going to categorize it myself because you know what? I'm like, this is a problem because I don't have my own CDN to get my photos to me faster. I'm only going to host it on one Synology in my house. Of course I got backups, but it's one unit and I'm my own provider. So I was a little bit afraid of that. But with this 923 Plus, I can pull up photos so fast anywhere. It's amazing. Even the 20 megabyte photos that the A7 IV takes, it will download them so fast. So, no, I'm not worried anymore. Not worried a bit. This 923 Plus is an amazing Synology.
Yeah.
Very much enjoying it.
I'm glad, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it so much that you've convinced other people to join you on the Synology train.
Yeah, one of the coworkers has now decided that she's going to be buying a Synology. It'll be good for her.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm just wondering when Synology is going to start sending you those kickbacks.
I know, right? When am I going to get the Synology sponsorship? I'm looking forward to it.
This episode brought to you by Not Synology.
Not Synology this time, but another time perhaps. I mean, to be honest, I got a Synology because ATP was recommending them back in the day, right? When they got 1813s given to them for their podcast, and I was like, oh, okay, these guys like these Synology things. But no, I really want to stop having a Mac server in my house now because I have a Synology. It does most everything. The only reason I have a Mac server in my house still is to do website stuff. But really, I should be moving that over to Linux.
Yep.
I shouldn't be doing it on Mac. Hopefully, the Synology will be the only server in my house shortly because I'll be moving everything over to Linode, yet another ATP sponsor.
This episode also not brought to you by Linode.
Nope, not brought to us by Linode. But school has a few Linodes, and I have a Linode personally, and I just need another one. I just need one more, Ryan. Just one more.
Just one more?
Just one more. No, but I've been fighting with my old Synologies. Those 1815 pluses aren't wonderful Synologies, but they're working as my backup servers still, and that's working fine. But my 923 plus, loving that thing. It's wonderful.
Well, I'm glad that things are working out for you.
Yep.
All right, and I do believe that is the last thing.
That is the last thing.
Shall we have some
refreshment?
Really sweet things?
I know, I picked the really sweet ones this time, Ryan.
Seriously.
We don't have to keep ourselves awake, but I picked the sweet ones.
Yeah, so for the Kit Kat of this time, you picked a ice cream flavor.
Because why not?
As a wonderful pairing, you decided that we should go with the caramel sweet milk tea.
Which I think you got for us, right?
Yeah, I found that and I was just like, okay, this sounds wonderful and horrifying all at the same time. I like caramel. I like milk tea.
Will they be okay together?
I don't know. But let's start with the Kit Kats. So the ice cream color looks like a vanilla. Blast.
Looks like it's on the floor, huh?
No, I punched a table to catch it.
Oh. So it landed on the table?
Yeah, it landed on the table. So it is a vanilla ice cream color.
It is. Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah.
Looks like white chocolate. Doesn't that smell like white chocolate, though?
No, it smells like vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, I would say so, too. All right, let's see.
All right.
My first thought was, why didn't they just make it vanilla Kit Kat? But I would say that there's a creamy flavor in there, too.
So, you know the vibe I'm getting? It is Dippin' Dots.
Okay.
Or freezer-dried ice cream. That's probably closer. That kind of flavor.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I think as fake flavors, I mean, like I guess you're kind of leaning toward, it's not a bad one.
No, I would say that it's not bad. I mean, we've had other highs, like other really good ones, and we've had other really bad ones. This is good, but it's not like, okay, so I'm thinking that for me, this is either going to be a high 6 or a low 7.
I think I'm going to go 7 because I think I like it.
I think I'm going to go 7 because I don't think it's as low as a 6. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with 7.
All right, yeah, so I think it's pretty good. Let's try the caramel sweet. Let's see if the pairing works well.
The pairing of ice cream and caramel sweet milk tea?
Caramel sweet milk tea. It's got a good smell. It's got a milk tea smell.
It smells like milk tea, but you can smell it smells sweeter.
Yeah. I think it actually works because it's not that strong.
Yeah, it's very light.
I think it works because it's a hint, and the hint is not bad.
No, it's like all in the aftertaste too, because the straight milk tea flavor is the majority of the flavor. But yeah, the caramel sweet, I'm only tasting in the aftertaste.
Yeah, it's pretty light. I think it's pretty good.
I think it's okay. What are you going to say?
I think I'm going to say a 6.5. Just kidding.
Can I do 0.5s? Is that what you're saying?
No, not saying that.
Are you opening it up? Yeah, that's my problem is I'm trying to decide between an upper 5 or a lower 6. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with the 6 as well. I think we're agreeing on a lot today.
I think to me, I like milk tea. One of the reasons I like milk tea is because it's very sweet, right? It's a very sweet tea. And I think this just makes it even more sweeter, which is what I like.
Yeah, it is a very, very sweet tea, but that's not bad.
Right.
And I think the flavor of caramel really does work well with this sweet tea like this. Yeah, I think it works. So yeah, 6.
Man, so boring. These were good ones.
Well, you can't always have an affront to all that is good in the world.
Can't always have what was it?
Melon and milk?
No, what was the Kiwi Mikachu?
Oh, gosh. Is that the one that we didn't score just because we were like, this does not even deserve a number?
Yeah, 0. I think we gave it 0, right?
Yeah, we gave it a 0. On a scale of 1 to 10, we gave it a 0.
Yep.
Yeah, that was bad. That was real bad. Although I do like that Calpis Silky Cola.
Yes, I remember that.
Melon and milk.
Calpis Ginger Ale, that was a good one. I have another Calpis for you at home. I'll bring it in later.
It's okay. I was looking at another Calpis in the store, staring at it and going, do I really want to be the one who brings in a Calpis? But it sounded like such an interesting flavor, but it might be the one you got.
We'll see. I got it over the summer. It was a little while ago.
Okay. So for the main media of the day, we decided that, hey, maybe we should try to continue along on one of our storylines and actually, maybe finish a series.
Oh, but this isn't the finish. This is the middle.
This isn't the finish, but we're moving closer to the finish.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. We are.
So we decided to get to the middle of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to read The Obelisk Gate. So first of all, I should say, before we even get into the summary, if you haven't read the 5th season, you're going to get spoiled on things in the 5th season.
Yes.
Just by the summary. But we are also, of course, going to be spoiling The Obelisk Gate.
Yeah, so go back and read the 5th season, then listen to episode 76, and then I come back here. Which is good. 5th season was a good book.
Mm-hmm.
We are moving along in a very good series.
Yes, at a rather quick pace, actually. So, to give you the elevator pitch, at the end of the 5th season, Esun finds Alabaster, and he is not in what would be considered a great state. Instead, he asks her to do one thing, and that is to help him destroy the rest of the world.
Yes.
This is the story of that.
This is the continuing stories. I mean, it's a middle book, right? So the big conflict in this book is really still just surviving this world, right? It's how...
It is man versus nature.
No, it's man versus... Well, yes and no. I would say that it's man versus man, right?
Well, yes. No, I mean, when you're saying survive this world, that is man versus nature.
Right.
But yes, the thrust of this story is man versus man.
Right.
Because man is the real monster.
Right, because what does Esun do with her power? Kill other people. I mean, that's what the Stone Eaters are. What does Esun do with her newfound power using the new Obelisk Gate, right, which is the name of the book? She kills other people. This is the middle, but I mean, I think the man versus nature part of trying to capture the moon and things like that, I think that's the next book.
And avoiding the boil bugs? That's this book.
Yeah, that's true. There are some versus nature stuff in this book.
Yeah.
Yes, because, yeah, you're right, because the world is slowly dying. There's still... Okay, you're right. So the main point of the book is man versus nature because the world is breaking.
Yes, but the actual story is centered around man versus man.
Right. Quite interesting. I mean, we got some things catching up from last time. I did think that Shafa, and we had both thought that Shafa had died in the last book. I did listen back to that, and we both thought Shafa had died. Mm-hmm. Even I had forgotten that Shafa lived. As somebody who had already read the Obelisk Gate by that point, I had already forgotten that Shafa has lived. That was new. In some ways, I think that's a little bit of a cop-out, but I'm interested to see where this is going because Shafa is not Shafa anymore. He's given further over to, I think, Father Earth, right?
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
That's the evil he's given into.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that's made clear in this book is that there are basically 3 factions working kind of against each other in some ways. Well, hopefully working together. It's the Stone Eaters, Father Earth, and Origin/humans.
Well, I wouldn't even say that it fits neatly into those categories. Honestly, I would say there are 3 factions. There is Father Earth, those who want to maintain the status quo.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually even 4, kind of. those who want to maintain the status quo, Father Earth, those who want to basically make it so that the world is only habitable by one people.
Yeah.
And then the people who want to restore peace.
Repair.
So based on the ending of the story, it seems to me that it's the status quo, throw the moon into the Earth, return the moon to the Earth's orbit, and then Father Earth is the one involved in all this. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Because based on the ending of the story, it sounds like Steel is wanting Nasun to
catch the moon.
Not just to catch the moon, but to catch the moon and throw it to Earth.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick that up. Okay. I had forgotten that part.
Well,
Okay.
He said, give them a reunion. And
I thought that just meant put it back into orbit.
to me, it sounds like he's trying to lead her towards essentially destroy the world.
Oh, okay.
Because he's saying there will never be any more suffering. There will never be any more of this. Yeah, because everyone's gonna be dead.
Okay, because that was one of my questions, actually. I had the question, is Steel using Nasun just as a backup of Esun? Because I know that Hoa wants Esun to catch the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And Alabaster does too. I mean, Alabaster and Alabaster's friend, I think, want to repair. And Hoa is
in that repair kind of group.
In the group, but still not always... Alliances are not his thing, apparently. Apparently. Because then there are other Stone Eaters that want humans gone, which is interesting. So, yeah, anyway, it definitely... The story moved along a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know how it's going to end.
I mean, I decided that I wanted to re-listen to it, and I started yesterday and just got through the entire thing in 2 days.
Mm-hmm. It's a good book.
It is a good book. It moves at a good pace that you are really caught.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, it seems like Steel is wanting to use Nasun basically because she is first an impressionable young kid.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But also because of how the world has treated her, she's become a little nihilistic. Like, I don't care about anything anymore. I just want the pain to stop. That kind of nihilism.
Yeah, I mean, she ruined a whole fulcrum. Right?
Yeah, she turned them all to stone, it sounded like. Just because she realized that the way that her mother treated her, the way that her mother raised her, was all based on this idea of, oh, so the breaking of the hand, all this is because that's how she was raised.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the interesting things, too, is the difference between fulcrum training and what Alabaster and Esun have grown into and what Nasun picked up pretty quickly. The different level of orogenic power.
Yeah.
Well, not just different level, but different, in some ways, different
focus.
styles, too, yeah. I mean, we in the previous episode, we did talk about the different styles that there was, that even the Geode Comm leader has her own style of origin use. But it is interesting, this book definitely focuses more on the Obelisk style of orogenic use.
Yeah, the phrase they used was the difference of energy transfer and magic.
Yes, magic. Yeah, this is magic, right? They're dealing a lot more with magic, which is hilarious. Okay, magic. Yeah, sure. Okay, sure. We'll go with that. That is a funny word for it. But yeah, Nasun is seeing the magic going on. I thought it was funny that when Esun was trying to teach the young Ragas in that comm, that she's like, no, the fulcrum style training that she was working with them through was getting in the way of her learning the magic style of orogeny.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Because it was designed to focus on the energy transfer rather than
cooperation, right? More like cooperation, it seems like, right? Using multiple obelisks or using multiple origins to get something down is more of a cooperative thing, whereas the original fulcrum stuff is more of a controlling thing, right? I would assume.
Well, not just that. It also felt like it was more focused on almost cause and effect. The transfer of energy, the transfer of motion, the transfer of all these things feels more of like, we're going to work with physics. Whereas when you're touching on the things that involve the magic, it feels like it's like, okay, we're bypassing rules.
True, yeah.
we don't have to necessarily work with the normal laws of physics and thermodynamics and momentum and all this stuff. That's kind of the big thing, is like it was a different way of even perceiving how things worked.
I have a question for you. Are we supposed to be rooting for the humans or rooting for the Ragas?
I think we're supposed to be rooting for Asun.
Yeah. She makes it hard for us sometimes, but I think you're probably right.
Does she really make it hard for us?
Sometimes, I think. In this book, not as much as the first book, I think.
Yeah, the first book, she really made it hard. This book, I was like, nah, I can see where she's coming from on all these things.
And she's trying to peacefully settle some of this stuff.
Yeah.
These conflicts.
And the only times that she doesn't is basically when she's like reliving her trauma.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, there is a drunk person beating on a child. Oh no, I am reliving my trauma. I'm just going to scatter them to ash.
But following along that, my next note here is, I think that this is the story of the life of Esun, right? This whole series is.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to like Star Wars is, well, the complete set of Star Wars, which you can argue exists or not, is the life of Vader.
I don't know if I could necessarily say that, because what about, I mean, you're saying the complete Star Wars is Vader?
The complete set of the first 6 movies.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was like, there's more than 6 movies. The complete Star Wars is more than just Vader.
Right, it is. But I mean, I think George Lucas's original vision, sorry, let me say it that way. The first George Lucas's original vision, his first 6 movie vision, was the life of Vader. Whereas, you know, I mean, growing up, I thought it was the life of Luke, right? That to me, that's what it was.
That's why whenever I hear it now, it's actually referred to as the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, that's true too. Right. It's the story of all the Skywalkers together, right? Now, yes. But the first 6 are like the life of Vader. I think this series is going to be like the life of Esun and the struggles she's gone through.
Yeah, I'm a little worried because of the way things are geared up at this point, that she's going to have to make a hard decision about her daughter.
Yes. Will they be able to work together? Will they be able to use their combined... I mean, now that Esun has learned how to cooperate with other Ragas...
Origins,
that's the polite word, thank you. Will she be able to do that with her daughter? Will she be able to talk her daughter into cooperating?
Yeah, because her daughter seems to be basically carrying a lot of anger and hate towards her.
Yes, but I think it did seem... But even with the breaking hands thing, realizing that, I think she's softened on her mother, right? I think she was realizing that her father... toward the end, she was realizing that her father is the one.
Really? Because, I mean, there was a line that really stuck out to me, that she didn't want to blame her father, so she thrust her anger at her mother, saying, "You should have had us with somebody who was stronger."
Yeah, I guess she's still... Yeah, you're right. She's still angry at her mother.
She's still angry at her mom, and then she's being used by Steele, who seems to be wanting to direct her towards destroying the world.
Or she's being used by Shafa, so...
Well, Shafa seems to be more in line with whatever Father Earth wants. So it's like... So yeah, I think it's easier to talk about the people involved in this by that. It's Shafa, it's Steele, and it's Asun. But if Asun's going to try to catch the moon and Nasun's going to try to hurl it at Earth, what's going to happen? There's going to be a contesting of wills there.
And there's not going to be an alabaster to step in anymore.
No.
Because he has passed. Or turned into stone.
Yeah. Although it did kind of feel like something might have happened to him, because she did mention that there was a new Stone Eater made of alabaster with eyes that looked very familiar.
Right. No, that's him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming. Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that as well.
But I'm assuming that Stone Eaters don't have orogenic powers.
Yes. I also assume that they might not recall things as well as they used to.
That's true, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They may have lost something in that change.
Right, in the transformation. I think so too, because it doesn't seem like they remember beyond their current selves very well, it seems like. Yeah, I think so too. So let's talk quickly about the perspectives again.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to remember in our first episode that we were talking about, since that was all about Esun, or Esun's different, Damaya, cyanite, and then Essen. That was all her perspective, except for the second perspective whenever Hoa was telling the story of Essen. This does have the first perspective of Nasun, still the second perspective of Essen, still from Hoa's perspective, and then 1 or 2 chapters of Shafa, it seemed like.
Yeah.
But I still very much enjoyed the threaded storyline, even though they weren't parallel timelines still, right? Like, they were still happening at different times. Nasun's story was still in the past, where Essen's story was in the present, except for the very end of the book.
Yeah, at the very end of the book, it seemed to all sync up.
Right. So I wonder what's going to happen in this third book, right? I mean, we were saying in the first book that we liked the 3 different timelines. That was an interesting thing. This book had 2 timelines that now are synced up.
Yeah, I'd say probably by the second half of the book, they were mostly synced up.
Yeah, probably. Because she could feel her mother doing things,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting.
Well, I mean, she only really felt her mother doing things in certain, like when she did big things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like icing a distant town from where she was.
Well, it didn't sound like they iced them. It just said that she killed them from where she was. So I'm wondering if it's like she turned them all to stone.
Oh, possibly. And then changing temperatures to force the ice bugs into the attacking army.
Yeah. Oof. That was rough. Hey, you're attacking us. Well, congratulations. Now we have a giant herd of carnivorous beetles that are just going to eat your entire army alive. Yay!
That was the sad part of this book. Not as big as the sad parts in the first book. Well, they're both pretty sad, I guess.
Yeah.
Guess you really can't compare.
The biggest sad thing for her was the fact that she killed another person she loved. Getting very close to basically destroying the entire town, the only person who was able to stop her was Alabaster. And in him reaching and stopping her, he turned into stone. He basically couldn't stop himself from going any further from where he was. But yeah, I think that was the saddest thing for her. Now, I think that book 3 is going to, based on the tone of this story so far, I'm worried that she's going to have to kill her daughter.
Ooh, maybe.
Or if not kill her daughter, there's going to be some kind of like power struggle between the two of them. And if she doesn't kill her daughter will basically end up taxing her to the level where in doing whatever she's got to do, she is also going to destroy herself. Something like that. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm pretty sure that whatever the saddest thing is going to be based around that relationship and the clashing of wills surrounding that. Because seriously, the 2 people who basically are now gearing up for, hey, we need to do something about the moon, is Esun and Nasun.
Right.
Yeah. So, when are you having me read book 3?
Yeah, my next episode. Although I think I could probably fit a Tom Cruise movie in between.
May I suggest not?
No, we can do. My next episode will be The Stone Sky.
Sounds good.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I have not read it yet.
At this point, we just need to hear how this story is going to end.
I know. Now we're just drooling. Ryan, what do you have for me next time?
Yes. Well, I figure that it is time to return to the world of Pratchett.
Oh, okay.
It is time for more Discworld.
Got to ride back on these. Got to ride more on the turtles, right?
Yeah, gotta ride on the back of Atuin, the giant turtle that is swimming through space. But for this, I figure we should go back to a series that we've already started. And so I want you to read Reaper Man. Because I had you read Mort, and I'm going to tell you right now, the next 2 that I'm going to have you read, I'm going to have you read Reaper Man, and then I'm going to have you read Weird Sisters. This is where, in my opinion, these stories really start to come into where they thrive, where they are, and like why people love these characters. So Reaper Man is next. The quick tagline for that one is, when Death receives his notice of being told he needs to retire, what happens to the world?
Oh, sounds interesting.
So look forward to Death being told he needs to retire.
Because he was getting there in the previous book. That's why he was looking for Mort. Oh, well.
Well, you'll see what happens and why he has to retire and all sorts of things that are caught up in that story.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this is also where you get to meet the death of rats.
The death of rats. Okay.
Yes, you will see what I mean when you come across.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Well, we hope that you did find something nice about this hill that we were willing to die on, and we appreciate all of our listeners coming along on this journey with us. But have you ever thought to yourself, hey, I really like these guys and what they do, and I just wish there was some way I could support them? You can. Visit myhilltodieon.com/members for more details. But what does it mean to be a member? Well, for the low price of $2 a month or $15 a year, you can help us and support this podcast. By doing so, you will also get access to the members-only podcast, Not My Hill, where we discuss things that are probably somebody else's hill to die on. We have strong feelings about them, but as the title says, they're definitely not hills that we're willing to die on. In addition, you can also make suggestions on our Listener Hills suggestion episodes, where we will read, watch, or climb up a hill that you're willing to die on, and we'll talk all about it. But know that the conversation doesn't have to end here. The discussion can continue with us through Reddit at the subreddit My Hill to Die On, or by contacting us through email, which is, to no one's surprise, myhilltodieon@gmail.com. And finally, we upload all of our episode to our YouTube channel, which is also named, say it with us now, folks, My Hill to Die On. Now I'm recording.
Excellent.
That peaked a little bit. All right, let's see if I can't adjust my peak a little bit to make sure that I'm not going to. All right, just a little bit down. Ooh, I just saw what I had next for you. Reaper Man.
Oh, good.
We can get back into some Pratchett. I know you've been missing it.
Well, missing is strong, but I'll enjoy it.
I know you've been missing it. You've been longing for more Pratchett.
And did Oppenheimer come out in Japan yet?
Oppenheimer is, I don't know if Oppenheimer's ever coming out in Japan.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it in theaters, and I really, really doubt it. I saw it in America.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm very distracted because Audible is doing $6 a month for the first 4 months.
Really? Really? You're looking at Amazon right now?
Well, I had to get the links for the books in Audible, so they came up. $6 a month for the first 4 months and then cancel right away. I can get 4 books for $24.
Which reminds me, I have some credits to spend.
Okay, later. Later. It's a good sale, but later.
Later.
Just a second. I want to find the one. Just looking for the episode number.
The episode number? Where I got out of student debt? Or where you talk about your trip?
Where I talk about where I broke my thumb.
Oh, where you broke your thumb.
There it is. Okay.
I forgot that was this year.
71. Yep.
71. That was this year. Wow. We really have not recorded a lot this year.
No. Nope. And that hotel, the Latte Arai Resort, super high class. Did feel a little bit out of our league. Maybe I should cut that. But just so you know.
What are you talking about? You're definitely in that league.
Nope. No, I don't think so. This was the time of the year where we can afford that hotel. Can't afford it during the peak times. But I walked into the hotel we stayed at. Was pretty nice. But there was another hotel just around the corner where the lobby is all like oak paneling, and it's like, whoa, okay, this is where the really good golfers, not necessarily really good golfers, the really wealthy golfers come and golf.
There you go. Oh, by the way, speaking of really wealthy, apparently I made a snide comment last night because I was at the students' play last night.
Oh yeah,
and one of the lines in the show is, there are lots of people who have no heart, who are kind and give and do wonderful things, and they're called philanthropists. Or,
well, he didn't finish the word, but yes,
that's the joke.
That was the funny part.
Well, he got to the end of that line and said, but they've got one thing that you don't have. And I leaned over to the person next to me and said, money.
Yep. That was pretty fun.
It was.
during the Friday night, as Dorothy was leaving the scene at one point, her shoe fell off. So one of the girls in the sound booth said, "Oh my goodness, our play just turned into Cinderella." The ruby slipper, can you give it back to her? He keeps asking me if I want to play it over FaceTime audio.
So yes, no, I'm just kidding.
The Misty Mountains, I found it in, you sent it to me in Apple Music now. It's not on Amazon.
Yeah, well, I figured because it's a single with like three, like, and it's not one artist is the other problem because it's like 3 random artists who got together for a single.
Yep. Let me see. I should play this over SharePlay, I guess, huh?
I guess you could. Yeah.
I guess I could. This song here, I want to play it over SharePlay. What will happen?
That is a question. I am curious.
It says loading.
No, I have to join SharePlay, which I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Oh, and then it gets louder all of a sudden. Oh, it gets louder when I'm not. It gets louder when I'm not talking. Funny. Do you hear? Are you at the same part I am?
Yeah, I do. And you're right. It is fluctuating when we're talking.
That's funny. All right, I'm gonna pause that. That's just too weird. That's just too weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can't I'm gonna close and see if.
Yeah, just quit out of that, huh?
Quit out of that. Yeah.
How do I disconnect to listening? Anyway,
yeah.
Weirdness. Don't breathe it in.
Oh, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to breathe in liquid.
Yeah, don't do that. Oh, time to go home.
Time for you to go home.